Well, hello, and welcome to Trash with a Capital T, where we give trashy books and movies the love they truly deserve. And some deserve more than others. They know what they did. I'm your host, Bobby, and new videos are posted every Sunday, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. If you like what you see during the video, give it a like. It makes me feel good and helps the channel. And if you want to see more of my content, subscribe. I release very regularly, or head over to my channel page. I cover everything from Slumber Party Massacre to Sweet Valley High. Now that the intro is out of the way, we are doing a double feature movie review today because I watched these as a double feature, but also they have a couple things in common. Both of them are very recent releases. And I'm also familiar with the materials that both of these films are based off of. So the two films that you probably saw in the thumbnail are Clown in a Cornfield from 2025 and Witchboard from 2024, although I believe actually had its theatrical release in 2025. Both films, Clown in a Cornfield is based off the book by Adam Cesare of the same name. Loved that book. Read it in 2 days, burned through it, thought it was like the perfect, let's make a slasher a book kind of book, which is really hard to do. And it was just fun enough, had a bunch of twists that weren't just about the slice and dice parts, but it's also a shockingly gory book for a YA book. And then you have Witchboard, which is based off the 1986 film directed by Kevin Tenney and starring Todd Allen, Stephen Nichols, and most famously Tawny Kitaen. For those who are too young to remember who Miss Kitaen was, she was made famous for mostly doing modeling and dancing. She did do some acting, but her most famous moment was dancing on top of a car in a Whitesnake video for Here I Go Again on My Own. And that sounds like a joke, but that video was a huge cultural moment, and she was a part of it. Witchboard is probably, I hate saying this, it's probably best known for two things. The original. The first being Tawny Kitaen has a brief nude scene in the film. It's a shower scene. It's really not much. The other is the oddly homoerotic relationship between the two main leads, Jim and Brendan. That does not translate into the remake, but we'll get into why. Then there's something else for me. The movie stars Kathleen Wilhoit. So those who do not know who Kathleen Wilhoit is, she was a prominent character actress. She still acts to this day. She shows up in everything. But for me, she was the voice of Pepper Ann in the cartoon Pepper Ann. So it was very interesting seeing her in that film. It was even more interesting to see her in Color of Night, but that's a whole different video. So let's get into the reviews. We're going to start with Clown in a Cornfield because Clown in a Cornfield is the one that I came out of being like, this was more successful. This was one that I had heard better things about going into it. So that might have tainted my view a little bit. But overall, I was actually really impressed with Clown in the Cornfield. I thought it got the slasher vibes down. It had the humor. It was just self-referential enough where it didn't feel like it was trying to be Scream. It was doing its own thing. There is definitely plenty of humor within the film, which I'm not surprised because the film was directed by Eli Craig, who did Tucker and Dale versus Pure Evil. If you have seen that movie, you understand that these guys really know how to blend gore, violence, and comedy without coming off as crass or cruel. He's very, very talented at finding that balance in the material, but he also is really good at doing a good chase scene, building suspense, handling the gorier moments without alienating the intended audience, because this movie really is made for a teenage audience, like older teens. So he finds that balance where it just works perfectly. And horror fans might actually recognize Eli Craig as one of the evil football players in Rage Carrie 2. Acting career didn't really take off, but his directing career is actually doing pretty nice. So if you're not familiar, Clown in a Cornfield follows, let me pull up my notes, Quinn and her father, who are moving to a small town after Quinn's mother dies of an overdose. Her dad is a doctor. He's taking over the local practice, and he's just trying to kind of rebuild his life after a breakdown after his wife's death. Quinn quickly makes friends with several of the popular kids at school, although some of them are a little more frenemy than friend. And it becomes very clear that the people in town do not like these kids, or most teenagers in general, to be honest. And that is then punctuated by several of them getting brutally murdered by people dressed up as the mascot of a local factory, Friendo The Clown. The movie... Okay. I went into this knowing that a lot of people do love this film. Like, really, really love it. It was their slasher moment that they've been waiting for a while, because slashers have kind of fallen out, or if they were happening, they were trying to go for very, like, highbrow, high bar. Like, this one is not dumb. It definitely is intelligent, but it does not try and be something it is not. It is a funny, quick-witted, well-paced slasher, and it takes the book that Adam Cesare wrote and that I really liked and really simplifies it enough where it flows. We don't get a lot of distractions, but it doesn't remove too many pieces to make it feel unrecognizable. If you have read the book, you can understand that plot gets kind of complicated and we get into some different perspectives. The gore in the book is much more extreme, but I will say the kills in the movie are not soft. There is a little digital blood, but there were some really good moments. One of them involving a saw blade and some heavy weights that really worked. And, you know, you got a clown running around with a chainsaw in a cornfield. It's kind of perfectly done. And that's actually my favorite part of the film. The chase scenes at the end of this film really, really up the tension. Chase scenes are important to make a slasher work. And a lot of slashers really don't know how to do them. I think that he was able to, Eli Craig was able to actually get the chase scenes done really well. There are moments where the characters are running through the corn and you can't really see it in front of them or behind them really well. And the corn is kind of obscuring them, but you can always kind of keep track of them. It's well lit. It's shot at night, but it's well lit. It works and there's tension. And because these clowns are popping out all over the place, you never know when someone is going to die and everyone is kind of at risk. That's how a slasher should work. There should be no safe, easy answers for the end when it comes to who lives and who dies. And this one, I mean, Quinn is our final girl, so you can kind of guess what's going to happen with her. But the rest of the characters, it's all up in the air. And there are some fun twists with those characters, especially ones that carried over from the book. And there's already been a ton of talk about that, so I'm not going into details or spoilers on that one. But I was happy that they kept that plot twist, and I thought it worked really well with the characters. And there's actually one of the other things that really impressed me with this movie. Slashers are not necessarily always known for great character depth, but I think the script was able to actually give us some good character moments where we felt connected. Specifically between Quinn and her father. So Quinn is played by Katie Douglas. Her father is played by Aaron Abrams. I think they played off each other really well. Aaron Abrams gets some great moments of humor, just being like the kind of struggling adult in the situation. And he is part of the action, which I loved, because in stories like this, the parents either like are just not there or they just get killed really quickly. And him being part of the story and actively participating in this with his daughter as a unified front in parts works very well and works as a contrast to the other villains. And I enjoyed the heck out of it. And having likable leads really does help sell your film. It makes people want to sit down and root for the good guys and the bad guys, but it makes you invested. And I thought everyone did a great job. I do have to give special mention to Kevin Durand and Will Sasso, Kevin Durand plays the mayor of the town and Will Sasso plays the sheriff. They get to be kind of the scenery chewing bad guys who aren't necessarily killers. They're just like the asshole adults, pardon my French. But they both know how to chew the scenery so as not to overpower the scene, but just come off mean enough. Will Sasso actually really impressed me with this one. He plays the heavy really well in this one, like the big like bad guy as the sheriff. He is just like perfectly slimy and evil. I loved him in this movie. I grew up watching him on Mad TV, so it was kind of nice to see him back in action, but like playing something I never seen him play before. So, Clown on a Cornfield is a definite recommendation for me if you are a slasher fan or if you're looking for a fun, fast-paced horror movie. Once things hit the fan, it does not stop, and that is how a good slasher should be. Okay, on to the second part of this double feature. So we're going to talk about Witchboard from 2024. As I stated already, this is directed by Chuck Russell. Chuck Russell has a lot of experience in the horror world. Like I said, he directed Nightmare on Elm Street 3, which is probably one of the best regarded Nightmare on Elm Street films outside of the original. He also directed the 1980s version of The Blob, which really did not do good when it first came out, but built a cult audience because of its intense special effects and barred storytelling when it came to like characters being off. If you have not seen that film, highly recommend it. If you have issues with child death on screen, though, you might want to skip that one, because there is a scene where a younger character gets killed in a sewer, and it is quite grisly. It was one of those things that shocked me as a child, because I saw it when I was a kid growing up, and I loved this movie. And I think part of the reason I loved it is because not even the kids in that movie were safe, which when you're a kid, it adds to that fear factor, like, oh, anyone can go. So I was looking forward to watching Witchboard because I like Chuck Russell. I think he does a great job. He knows how to shoot effects well. And this movie does have some bigger effect scenes. Sadly, the effects in this one are not great. In this movie, it's not bad. The problem is it is overly complicated. The source material is fairly simple. The original film by Kevin Tenney is fairly straightforward. Tawny Kitane's character finds the Witchboard, which is a Ouija board. She plays it, breaks the rules, ends up getting possessed, or releases a demon, and bad things start happening, and her current boyfriend and her ex-boyfriend have to find a way to save her. And it's very straightforward, and it works. It's a very fun film. You have Kathleen Wilhoit coming in, giving this kind of super campy, over-the-top performance as the spiritualist. She gets a really grisly death. It's quite wonderful. Like, it's pure VHS era camp and B movie. Kevin Tenney was very good at that. If you've seen the original Night of the Demons, he aced that film in the same way. And he was a very good visual filmmaker as well. So bringing in Chuck Russell to do this, I was like, oh, I hope they can make this work. And the script is an overcomplicated mess. There is too much going on. And the problem is, because there's all of this stuff going on in the background, we lose the characters. So the general plot of this movie is we have Emily and Christian. They are a young couple. Christian is opening a restaurant in New Orleans, which the New Orleans setting is completely not used, which very much disappointed me. But they're opening a restaurant, and while they are foraging for mushrooms, Emily finds a witch board. It's not a normal Ouija board. It's like the circular pendulum board out in the woods. She brings it home, starts playing with it. Bad things happen. People start dying. All of that fun stuff. Oh, and then there's a weird spiritualist played by Jamie Campbell Bower who shows up in another remake that I'm kind of disappointed with. He's really fun in the movie. All of the cast does fine. I can't really fault any of the cast because I think they're doing the best with what they get. Aaron Dominguez, who plays Christian, does a good job, but Christian as a character is very flat and he's very boring. He is just a straightforward horror hero guy. He's just macho enough, but he's also very sweet. Madison Eisman, who plays Emily, has a little more to work with because her character has some complexity to her because she is a recovering drug addict, which was something I wish they actually played with more, with the idea of her becoming addicted to the Witchboard. They don't. They're too busy setting up all of this background stuff with these Satanists, I don't know, black magic users. The script needed to be pared down. This movie is almost 2 hours long, and it did not need to be. The original film, now that I'm thinking about it to compare, the original film is a tight hour and a half. Witchboard is, almost just shy of 2 hours long. If they had simplified this, focused more on our main couple, I would have enjoyed it more. Don't take out all of the side characters, but simplify it. Also, for such a long film, parts of it seemed really rushed over. There are scenes where they should be these big climactic, violent horror movie scenes that just kind of happen and then nothing comes from them. There is a scene where a whole bunch of people get affected by the board without going into detail. And we see all of these things happening and then they just kind of never get referenced again. We kind of have an idea what happened, but we're too busy rushing off to do something else. which felt weird. It felt like the balancing act of the film was off. I blame for most of this. I think the script just needed to be edited down and tightened more. Some of this needed to kind of be simplified. There's these weird side characters who just kind of show up and kind of act inappropriately and then die. And the characters, like the victims of the Witchboard, really don't get a lot to do because, again, they just kind of show up, they're stereotypes, and then they die. And the deaths don't really have a lot of impact, especially because these are the same. They're kind of like Final Destination or the Omen style deaths, where it's like it always appears to be an accident because it's supernatural. And in a world where we have movies like Final Destination Bloodlines, you need to get your act together if you're going to do those kinds of deaths and make them stick with an audience. And this one really doesn't do that. And like I said, the effects work is not great. I understand CGI blood because a lot of times they'll do that if they're shooting in locations where they cannot get blood anywhere on the set. So they'll use that, or if they have someone lying on the ground, they'll have like latex blood that they can lay out and easily pick up. Because blood stain, the fake blood Caro syrup stains, because it has food coloring in it and food coloring stains. So I do get that. But there's also CGI fire, which if you can avoid doing it, do it. There's a scene with a bird flying out of a chimney and the bird's on fire, and it just does not work. And it goes on for way too long. But I know I'm sounding very harsh on this film. It is not a bad film. This is a movie I definitely would say if it lands on like Tubi, check it out. I think you'll have a fun time with it. Like, it's a good rainy afternoon, low impact horror movie. The reason I'm being so tough on this is because Chuck Russell in the horror realm has done so much better. And I was really disappointed that this is the one that he kind of tripped up on for me of the stuff I've seen. Like, I was not expecting Nightmare on Elm Street 3 or The Blob because I know this movie probably had a much tighter shooting schedule and lower budget, but I was hoping for a better balance within the storytelling, and I didn't get it. It wasn't there. So as it is now, because I did have to pay to rent that one, I think it was like $6 on Amazon. As it is now, I wouldn't really recommend paying money to rent it. But if it hits something like Tubi or Netflix or something like that, yeah, check it out. I hate saying that because I want the movie to do well. I don't particularly love the Witchboard. The original film actually spawned 2 sequels. I didn't love the sequels. It kind of got softcore-y. There's a lot of first one, not really. The second and third one, we get a lot more like, ooh, dirty late night movie. This one actually has a little bit of that, and I was kind of surprised. Very little though. They do kind of just put it in a few nods to the softcore past of the 2 Witchboard sequels. But yeah, unless you are a die-hard like Chuck Russell fan or Kevin Tenney fan, wouldn't recommend it. So while it was a kind of 50-50 double feature for me, I'm not unhappy that I saw either movie. Both of them interested me, so I'm glad I finally sat down and watched them. And coming out of it, I can definitely go with the recommendations that I would have been getting anyways, which was Clown in a Cornfield is a great addition to the slasher genre, and I highly recommend checking it out if you have the chance. It's very fun, the cast does really good, and most importantly, the script is tight, so the pacing and tension work. Witchboard, on the other hand, wait till it hits Tubi or another streaming site where you're not going to have to pay to rent it or buy it. Definitely, I would not recommend buying it. I think the price right now is like $20 for the digital download. I don't think it even has a physical, or if it will. And it's not good enough where I'd say drop that money just yet. If you are dying to see it, maybe wait until the rental price comes down to about $4. So, all right, going to wrap up the review. As I said earlier in this video, new episodes are posted here every Sunday, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And if you made it this far and you enjoyed it, give me a like. Again, makes me feel good and it helps the channel out. And if you want to see more of my content, subscribe and check out my channel page. So as I always say, love what you love. Enjoy what you're reading and watching. And have an amazing morning, afternoon, or evening. And I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.